Hi everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskin. I'm the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals, books 1, 2, and 3, as well as the book Playing Solo Jazz Piano. And actually starting a little earlier this week, I began giving a class that I'm calling Secrets of Bill Evans. I don't know any secrets of Bill Evans, but I love analyzing music of great artists like Bill Evans and seeing what kind of patterns can I come up with, and then how can I use that in my own playing. And that's what I'll be doing for this 7-week session through Open Studio. So I wanted to give you a little preview of that first lesson, where we're going to be talking about Bill Evans' improvisation strategy and some ways to adapt it for your own style. And it's not too late to sign up for the class. You can get a nice discount and let them know I sent you by using the code Siskin, my last name. And this is just on Open Studio Pro. These are live classes that will run through the middle of August. So I want to show you, I'm going to show you this transcription from Concerto for Billy the Kid. If you guys aren't familiar with this one, it's really, I think it's one of the all-time great Bill Evans solos. It's to the changes of what is it called? Not Afternoon in Paris, not April in Paris. I'll remember April, but in F major, and it's kind of like a big band concerto written by George Russell. So let me play. This is a selected passage starting here in measure 65 of the transcription, and I want to walk you through this. So. So I wanted to highlight this because Bill Evans is doing something here, like in really pure form, that we see mixed throughout a lot of his other improvising. And that is that he's focusing on 7th or 9th chords. Okay? So this might look like just a lot of notes to you, but if you're a more experienced jazz musician, you might be able to see that he's playing exclusively in these 7th chords. And these are diatonic 7th chords in the key of A flat major. And what he's doing here is actually like a relatively simple scale exercise. Okay, we do this all the time if we're practicing scale patterns. So here's, if I'm practicing scale patterns in A flat major, I'm gonna go here. I'll show you exactly. I'm gonna go up the scale in 7th chords. So A flat major 7, B flat minor 7, C minor, D flat major, all of the diatonic 7th chords in A flat major, right? Diatonic means that we're not changing any notes from the overall key signature. So I would practice, for instance, right? And so he's doing that, but you might be able to see that he starts not on A flat, but he starts on D flat major. So he starts on the 4th scale degree. And so we go a D flat major 7th, E flat dominant 7th, still totally diatonic, G half diminished 7th. Then we get to the A flat major. And look at how well this works out. The D flat major 7th creates the 3, 5, 7, 9 on the B flat minor. And then we get to the A flat major 7th chord right on the A flat major chord. Now, you might notice that he's changing two things from the exercise. He's obviously not just playing ascending arpeggios for every note. He's playing one ascending and then one descending arpeggio, right? So instead of playing, he plays. Right, so we're alternating between an arpeggio simply going up and an arpeggio going down. And actually, the way that he does it here, it's incredibly formulaic, right? Like, there's no variety to it. But he does one more thing, which is that he creates anticipations. He creates syncopation by moving things off the from the downbeats to the offbeats, playing some things a little bit faster. So he's taken this simple scale pattern, flipped every other seventh chord arpeggio, and then added syncopation. And this is one way, or one of many, many ways that Bill Evans comes up with lines. Now, in the next system, he does almost exactly the same thing, right? If you actually look down, it's tracking exactly the same up until here. Now, what does he change here? Just instead of going up the scale from D flat major to E flat dominant, F minor, and just to reiterate, I can tell somebody at home is probably thinking, well, why are some major seventh and one are dominant seventh? Well, because they're diatonic to the scale. So however this whatever the sonority of the seventh chord is within the scale, starting on that note, that's what the sonority is going to be. Okay, so, but after that, instead of going up, he simply starts going down. He just descends. And he continues his pattern of alternating between ascending and descending. So he's really not changing too much here. Let's hear the second line. Sorry, let me try that again. Rhythmically, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. And one of the things that's really great about this technique of using these seventh chords is you might notice right here, he's on this A flat major 7, and he plays pretty prominently one of these notes that a jazz teacher like me would tell you not to play on an A flat major 7. He plays the 4th, right? But because everything is just moving by step, this note resolves relatively quickly. And so this is kind of a great part about just going up or down in seventh chords, is that your notes are going to resolve. Okay. Now, I stopped right where I stopped because probably the most innovative, exciting, interesting part of the solo happens right here. Here, he plays a solo that is not diatonic to A flat major, nor does it really, nor is it diatonic to the next key, which is F major. So here he plays an A flat minor 7th arpeggio. Why A flat minor 7? This is what we call a side step leading into the G minor 7th. So that means that we're selecting the notes a half step above in order to set up that chord. So that's going to sound pretty dissonant in the moment. At the tempo that Bill Evans is playing, this is even faster than I played it. You're not really going to clock that dissonance too much. Now check out what happens next, which I think is really cool. He does not just simply go up seventh chords in this F major 7 arpeggio. Instead, he goes up in thirds. He's still playing seventh chords, but instead of going up by step, he goes up by skip, or we could say in thirds. So here we have a G minor arpeggio, B flat major arpeggio, and then a D minor arpeggio. So these are diatonic seventh chords, and we're going, right, starting on G, starting on B flat, starting on D. And what this ends up doing is changing this C7 here, at least initially, to kind of the feeling of a C sus, a chord with the 4th, but it then does resolve to the 3rd of that chord. Okay. Speaking of resolving, one secret of Bill Evans that we'll certainly be covering in the class is that he likes to shift chords around and make them start a little earlier or end a little later. And you can really see this on this F major 7 here. So if you're analyzing this F major 7, you might say, what scale is he using? Right, let's zoom in. He's using an E flat, definitely not part of the F major scale, a D flat, definitely not part of the F major scale, and then C and B flat, which are, but aren't quite as strong. So what do I think he's doing here? I feel very confident that he's extending this C7 a couple more beats and delaying the resolution, the normal resolution to F major. And these notes, this E flat and this D flat and the C and the B flat, these are part of the C altered scale. And if you analyze Bill Evans a lot, you're going to see this again and again. And just as a side note, if you're wondering, well, what about that G flat there? This is just a passing tone, right? It's a chromatic passing tone between the G and the F. So this passage, at least, certainly there's a lot of magic in Bill Evans' playing. And there's a lot of magic in this passage. But I think it's actually very elementary, very rudimentary in terms of the note choices, the content. You're simply playing this really common scale pattern of these seventh chords that are diatonic to the key. In the very first line, he's just going up by a step, alternating between ascending and descending. I'm going to take all of this writing off and make it bigger so you can follow along a little bit better. So watch again. In the second line, he's really doing the same thing, except he's not solely going up the scale. He goes up and then comes down a little bit. And then he does his side step. And now he's skipping. And then he delays that resolution to the F major. So if you like this kind of nerding out about this sort of thing, first of all, I think you'll like my Jazz Piano Fundamentals series. There's a lot of good stuff in here. And if this was a good level for you, maybe Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2 would be a really good level. But it's not too late to join my class. You could see this whole class after the fact on Open Studio Pro. And you can join live for these last 6 sessions and try this stuff out live with me, ask some questions. Just sign up for Open Studio Pro. Use the code SISKIND. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you watched this far, say Pro for Open Studio Pro. Bye, everybody.